artificial intelligence and generative AI or Gen AI, whatever you want to call it, it can all be overwhelming. But what we need to do is make sure that we're not falling too far behind because we're overwhelmed or confused. So there are a few key things that are important to keep in mind in these, they're still really early stages. Some people don't think they are, but these really are relatively early stages. And I've taken a few notes from a podcast that I love very much, and I'm going to share those with you today. Well, welcome to Legal Marketing Minutes, where I share short bursts of current marketing news and advice. If we haven't met, I'm your host, Nancy Merland. I'm a marketing and business development advisor, and I specialize in content, social, and digital media. All right, your time is valuable, so let's get started. Well, the podcast that I referenced at the onset is from the Marketing Artificial Intelligence Institute, and it's a weekly podcast that I love. Paul Raitzer and Mike Kaput are the hosts of it, and I was listening to episode 100. Congratulations. I pulled over because I was listening while running some errands, and I obviously don't like to write while I'm driving. So I pulled over and I took some notes, what I think are the most important things that I want you to take away from this episode, or at least things I want you to think about. And Paul and Mike talked about that AI literacy is extremely important and that there needs to be education and training. That can mean that you can reach outside and ask people for their perspective, or just to have a roundtable or talk to a group of people just to help get your heads wrapped around what's going on currently. And I say currently because these things are changing, and they're changing pretty rapidly. I mean, the basics right now are the same, but they are changing rapidly. So you need to think about AI literacy. Paul also recommends, and this is something I advocate for as well, and that's to have an AI council. This is that body of people that you gather internally, and these people should come from a great cross-section of who you have inside. And that doesn't mean that it's just marketing, or it's just human resources, or it's just senior management. That means that anybody whose jobs or lives could be affected by artificial intelligence in a good or bad way, then make sure that those groups of people, and again, all levels of seniority as well, make sure that those people are represented on the AI council. And you'll also want to make sure that they have the authority to move this forward, to have these discussions, and that they're going to know that their opinions are going to be respected, and that you have tasked them with studying and diving deeper into a lot of these subjects. Also, you need to think about generative AI policies and responsible principles. And I know you've probably already given thought to talking about what the best practices are and saying, a very hard and fast, you can't use this tool in-house, you can't use it with our client data, understandable and rightfully so. And you can't use it in this, and this way. And I think probably the broader picture there is to think about how to craft generative AI policies and share responsible principles. And then, this is extremely important, is to do an AI impact assessment of your team, your partners, look at your tech stack, and look at your products and your services and say, what is the impact that all of this is going to have in the next 1 to 3 years? If you don't know, talk to your AI council and ask them to brainstorm that for a little bit. If you don't have your AI council established yet, then again, reach outside and ask for some help thinking through this. This doesn't mean that the people you ask for help are going to have every single answer within an hour of your discussion, but asking them to help you brainstorm and study internally what's going on is quite possible and probably a very good idea. And then to think about your AI roadmap. And I loved this, the way that Paul and Mike put this, because it's very easy to understand. And it's that you should ask, what is a smarter version of everything you do? So look at every service that you offer, every process that you have, and every revenue model, everything that has to do with the economics of running your firm and company. And just to say, you know what? How have we done this historically? Go ahead, just meet it, define it. How do we do this now? And then say, how could we do a smarter version of this? And how, this is touchy, but stay with me. How do I do this with the fewest number of people possible? Don't get worried about that, because this doesn't mean that people are necessarily going to have to lose their jobs, but what it might mean is they might be able to think more strategically about some of the things they have not had time to do in the past. And that benefits everyone. That benefits you, that benefits the firm, and it benefits them because they're only going to become smarter and more strategic in what they do. So in everything that you do, you'll want to ask, how can AI be an assistant? And a lot of people have said, gosh, this is going to make people dumb and it's going to take away their critical thinking skills. If we have artificial intelligence and generative AI, if we let them go and ask ChatGPT or any of the tools and say, if they're going to be doing that, they're going to forget how to think. And that's not necessarily true because, as Paul talked about, you can still teach critical thinking throughout this whole process by letting your people experiment and to share their results. And when, let's say you have a task and you have started to dive into what I talked about a moment ago, when you think about all of your processes and your services and the economics, the revenue model, and just, maybe take one in each of these areas, one process, one service that you offer, one thing about either your billing system or the way that you bill, and let people, and they can do it in groups even, let's say there are groups of 3, there are groups of 5, or there's just one person for each, and say, I want you to go away and I want you to use, with these guidelines, don't share any client information, do not share anything about our name or our clients' names when you're doing these searches. Keep it all very vague, or use the enterprise models that allegedly will not be trained on any of the data that you use. A combination of those two is my recommendation. And let them experiment and ask them to go away. Give them a month, whatever. You name the time frame to say, go research this and see what could change if we used AI. And you may even ask, they should ask the tools themselves and say, you know what? Here's a process, here's a service, here's a way that we bill, and how would you make that more efficient? Ask me, and this is them in their prompt, ask me, ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, ask me the questions you need to know to give me a really good, thorough answer that I can present to my employer. And then ask them to share the results. Ask them to share the prompts that they used because they have to type or speak them in. So ask them to keep those in a spreadsheet. Say, what were the prompts? How did you change them? What did you learn? And they will, because I do all the time. What did you learn when you put that prompt in? What about that didn't the tool like? What about that prompt caused the tool to give you information that wasn't as thorough or accurate as you would like? And then show me your next prompt and just have them go through that process, because this is a way that everybody can learn from each other. And then ask them, what are your recommendations based on what you learned? Did you, before you made the recommendation, did you vet the answers that were given to you? Was there anything within that was so substantial that you needed to vet that? How did you vet that output? And again, just like what I said before, what did you learn? Just tell us what you learned. Make sure they understand it's okay to make mistakes, that there's really nothing that they have to worry about that they're going to get in trouble for. So those are my recommendations. I would take a look at what you're doing internally, look at those steps that I just mentioned to you. Obviously, reach out if you have any questions or if I can help you in any way think through these. And again, my thanks to Paul Reitzer and Mike Kaput and the Marketing AI Institute for the information that they continue to share. I will do my best to continue to share the high points. Actually, they're all such great points. It's really hard, but there are certain things that resonate with me and then I have to get them down. And I'll continue to share what I can with you because we are all on this journey together. Well, thank you so much for spending a few of your legal marketing minutes with me. I know your time is valuable and I appreciate you spending them right here. If you want to get a hold of me, I'm at Nancy@myrland.marketing.com, and that's MYRLAND marketing.com. Or if you're in a place where you can comment, please do so. I would love to hear from you in any way that's most comfortable for you. And if you have any questions at all or you want additional contact information or to find the rest of my podcast episodes, just head over to my website at myrlandmarketing.com. Again, that's MYRLAND marketing.com. All right, I'll see you next time. Thanks for your time. Take care. Bye-bye.